Ryan Mountcastle, what has he shown you so far? And is it anything that is different than what you saw from him in the past or what you had heard about?
Well, I'd only seen him a little bit in spring training, and then certainly talked to people about him. And, the guys in development really liked him, really thought he was going to be an impact hitter. And, what I've really liked about him, he's got a good presence in the box. He's certainly very talented, has the ability to drive the ball. I've been really impressed overall with his two-strike approach. And the way that he's handled himself against really good pitching. And I think as he gains more experience against he's facing so many people for the very first time. And that's a challenge in and of itself. And then having the ability to put together good at-bats. I think he's chasing less, certainly, than his numbers in AAA last year. And I think that will continue to improve, like I said, as he gains experience and just figures out who he's facing, and he's had the opportunity to see them before.
Rich Dubroff, go ahead.
Don, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Brandon has said a couple of times that the team is a very streaky team, hitting wise. Is there anything you can do to make it more consistent, or is that just inherent with the players that you have?
Well, it's I think there's a couple things that work there. One is, you have to look at who you're facing. Before we face like a Garrett Cole or a Glass now or Snell or like even Charlie Morton tonight, I always go back and look at what they do to left and right, just have a general sense of what they're trying to do. And I'll watch their previous couple 2 to 3 starts in their entirety. And you look at the competition that they're facing, you have some really good established major league hitters who against that type of pitching aren't necessarily looking like good established major league hitters, So I think that's one factor. The other factor is with a lot of our guys, like I said about Ryan Mountcastle, they're facing a lot of these guys for the first time. And so when you can talk about what they do, you can describe the action of their pitches, you can watch all the video you want from a center field camera perspective, but until you step in the box against them, you may not know really what it's going to look like. And I think with a lot of our guys, they're in a position where they're still trying to establish who they are at this level. And a part of that is when you go against some of the best pitchers there are, you're looking at that as a measuring stick for yourself. You're trying to establish yourself based on being successful against those guys. And so I think the challenge is to understand yourself as a hitter, understand what you do well, and try and stay within that framework regardless of who you're facing. And when you're young and you're inexperienced and the game starts to speed up a little bit mentally, the hardest thing to do is to slow it back down. Where more of an established hitter will have been there before and will have said, okay, I've been against this guy or this type of competition before. Here's what I need to do in this situation. And I think a lot of our guys are still learning how to do that. So I think that's where, some of the inconsistency could come from. And it's challenging and it can be frustrating, but it's all good stuff because every time that they face it and every time they have to figure it out and learn how to make it work, they're one step closer to becoming that guy. And there's no substitute for experience in that regard.
You mentioned guys trying to establish themselves. Brandon's talked about a few guys in his mind who he believes have taken that step. Who in your mind this year has used this shortened opportunity to really solidify some changes that make them, successful big leaguers going forward?
I'm not a big believer in making predictions, but I see, some guys, their progress, I think, is a little more sustained. Some guys, you start to see it and then you don't. At different times, you look at a guy like Chance Sisco, who, if you're looking at the metrics and you're looking at average exit velocity last year, he hit a lot of balls hard last year. The problem was he hit a lot of pull side ground balls into the shift. And so he's got a good eye at the plate, and he's starting to barrel the ball more and hit the ball more on a line and in the air, which, ultimately can help him. I think he's made progress. I think Severino has definitely taken steps forward offensively. At times, Rio Ruiz has taken steps forward offensively and really learning who he is and what he's best at the plate, and has showed a much greater ability to lay off kind of stuff below the zone, which got him into a lot of trouble last year. Now it's just really his ability to stay committed to that part of his game. I've been pleased with Mountcastle. DJ Stewart has done some good things, getting an opportunity. Cedric Mullins, in particular from the left side, has really improved. Much stronger at bats overall from the left side, still figuring it out to a certain extent from the right side, but has really played a good offensive game from the left side. His ability to bunt for a base hit has been really evident. One, his willingness to do it, and two, his success rate is off the charts. And, being able to hit the ball hard to all fields, he's really shown a lot of progress, and you can see it in his demeanor and his personality. He's much more expressive this year. He's not, holding back. He seems comfortable being who he is, and is playing a confident game, and certainly played, excellent on defense.
With Renato Nunez, he goes through these stretches where he'll have 5 home runs in a very short period of time, and then he'll go through these other ones where he strikes out a lot and has issues, making good contact and driving in runs. For Nunez, how does he put together more stretches of sustained success? And when he's not doing that, what is generally happening?
Well, again, all your best hitters aren't necessarily good at everything, but, they may be great at one or two things, and they're very consistent in their approach with staying with the one or two things that they're really, really good at. And generally speaking, what that comes down to is what they're swinging at. And when you look at Nooney, when he's attacking the part of the zone that he's good at, that's when he's successful. When he chases the end result, it shows up in what he swings at. So if I'm trying to swing at a right-handed slider, below the zone and off the plate away, and I'm swinging at that and I'm putting that ball in play, I'm not going to hit that ball hard. Or if I'm swinging at it and missing it or fouling it off, now I'm flipping the count in the pitcher's favor. So you get less favorable counts. You put more balls in play on pitches that aren't meant to be hit hard, and you're really getting away from your strength. And I think that's another sign of, he's played in the big leagues, obviously, for the last couple of years, but there's still some inexperience in terms of really being stubborn and determined about what he's good at and just sticking with that. And, I show these guys all the time, if you simply swung at pitches inside the strike zone, here's what the numbers say. Here's what the numbers say you are as a hitter. And so it's really being able to start there. How consistent can you be just swinging and moving the bat on pitches in the zone? And then from there, starting to define within the strike zone, especially, in certain counts, just sticking to the part of the strike zone where you can be at your best. And, it's the ability to be confident regardless of your most recent results, which in turn helps you slow the game down and stay on task and stay with your plan. And that's, frankly, been one of his greatest challenges, but also one of his greatest opportunities moving forward.
Next up, Steve Molesky.
Don, one stat or group of stats the Orioles have been good in all year is first pitch numbers, swinging, putting the ball in play on the 0-0 count. Do you have any general thoughts or philosophies on that? What do you want hitters to keep in mind about whether or not to attack that first pitch?
Well, I think some of it is, situation dependent. if our starting pitcher goes out in the third inning and has a really long inning and you're the first hitter the next inning, it becomes a little bit more of a team at bat in that regard. But in a general sense, we want to be ready to hit from the first pitch of the at bat on. And that doesn't mean just swing and be aggressive. It means being aggressive under control and going back to understanding your strengths, not just swinging at a strike. If my best opportunity to hit a ball hard is something up in the zone or middle in, I don't want to go after a strike that's low and away just to be aggressive. So it's being able to define what you're good at. But in general, we want to be ready to hit every pitch until our eyes tell us no. And sometimes our eyes don't always tell us the right thing. But in general, we want to be ready to hit because the quality of the guys that we're facing, so many times the first pitch might be the best pitch, might be the best opportunity for you to be successful. And then if you just stand there and take strike one, a lot of times the at bat becomes much tougher just because of that one pitch. So in general, we want to be ready to hit from the first pitch of the at bat on.
David Larla, go ahead.
Hey, Don. Jose Iglesias has the second lowest walk rate of any hitter in baseball. He has 1 home run. He also has an OPS over 900. That's pretty unique. How is he doing that?
Well, obviously, a lot of the on-base part of his OPS is being driven by hits, which isn't always the best recipe for success. But he is hitting the ball hard. He's got a lot of doubles, and the power, he's really, I think he hit 11 home runs last year. And at times he'll not often, but at times he'll get wrapped up in trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And it's just a matter of trying to bring him back to what he's really best at. And so I think he has made strides in not chasing as much as he used to. He's got great bat to ball ability, like he can make contact. And a lot of times he makes contact on pitches out of the zone, especially with 2 strikes that aren't necessarily what you want. But when he stays within himself and his approach is to hit the ball hard on a line, that's really where a lot of his success, comes from. And a lot of times, if you are a good hitter, if you look at a lot of his at-bats, a lot of his at-bats are over before he gets to 3 balls. It might be 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, and he's put the ball in play hard, and the at-bat's over, where a lot of guys have more opportunity to get to 3 ball counts because they get the pitch they want to hit, they foul it off, and now they have to keep battling their way through. So there's a part of that to his game offensively too.
Don, I'm sure this was a frustrating season seeing what Chris Davis went through. I know he had the knee thing, but you saw him in spring training when things seemed to be going well for him. What do you see as a path forward for him as you guys are breaking down and sending guys on their way this year?
In what regard? Like just his offensive game?
Yeah, where he could go to possibly get back to being productive in the way that he has been in the past.
Well, I think, you have to keep working and you have to keep believing. I mean, that sounds kind of generic, but I think he's dedicated to do that, have the right mentality to continue to work to try and improve. And I don't necessarily think, I think the process of hitting is always being reshaped. It's ongoing, I think the most dangerous thing a hitter can do is look back. I think you have to continue to, what am I feeling now? What am I able to do now? And within what I'm able to do now, physically and mentally, can I go back and have the same kind of game I had before, or do I have to kind of reshape what I'm doing? And I think that's the first part of the assessment for any hitter, is to be able to be reflective enough to say, is going back the right answer, or is it in moving forward and maybe becoming a different version of myself based on what's available to me right now?
Jeff Arnold, go ahead.
Don, what have you seen from Austin Hayes so far since he's come back from the alternate site, and what you've just made of some of his at-bats?
I think overall his pitch selection has been good. And I think up until last night, he was getting a little out of position to hit. So I think he was getting good position in a good pitches to hit, but not in his best position. So it was making him kind of fight to the ball. And, together we looked at some stuff yesterday, just literally about the position he's striding to. And he worked on it yesterday. And to his credit, he was able to make that adjustment in the game last night and was able to, hit the home run on a fastball and just in a beautiful position to hit. And the thing with all these guys that is important to understand, there's many of them over the years are used to wanting to fix their swing. And like in Austin's case, it had nothing to do with his swing. That same swing is always in there. But if I'm not in my best position to hit, the swing that I have, the good swing that I have, is not going to be able to come out consistently. And that's a nice adjustment that he made going into the game yesterday. And I've had guys over the years that are able to do that. They recognize what they're doing, they feel it before the game, and then they're able to take it into the game, which is a difficult thing to do against the kind of competition that these guys see. But he was able to do that last night. So, he's a confident kid, and he's a really nice combination of believing in his ability, yet having the humility to want to understand what he's doing and how he can become better.